What's going on, everyone? I hope y'all are having a good day so far. I am excited because I have another MCU movie unboxing and review. This time, it will be for Thor Love and Thunder. I finally got all the pops I wanted and can now make an unboxing video and review the movie as well. So, first off, we'll get into the Funko Pop unboxing. And we will start with the villains, the two kind of villains. So first off, we'll do Zeus. So, Zeus was played by a very well-known actor, Russell Crowe, obviously. Very famous. But his thing is that he is over this city of gods. I don't remember what it is called, what that city's called. What the heck? But basically, these gods just sit around and they do nothing. They sit around, kind of just in their places, don't really help humanity, don't really care anymore, kind of just party town, and Zeus is the leader over them. So, of course, Thor and co. come to this city to request help from them because Gore captured the children of Asgard. But not only did he capture the children of Asgard, but he is going to kill all the other gods too, obviously. But Zeus, being a stuck-up prick, refuses. He takes Thor's clothes off using his power and then gets in a little bit of a fight with Thor, or at least his goons do. And he eventually ends up getting killed. So, spoilers, I guess, if you haven't seen it. But I'm going to spoil it now. But he ends up getting killed, but at the end of the movie, he comes back and basically says, you know, once gods were feared and we were looked upon and like we were worshipped, and I want that back. And once Thor falls from the sky, that will happen. And he's like, do you understand, Hercules? And then Brett Goldstein, who plays Hercules, is like, yes, father. So yeah, so this is Zeus. So he has his little dress thing, which was kind of funny. And then he has the bolt. Thor ends up stealing this bolt and ends up using it later to give the kids his powers. But yeah, so that's Russell Crowe's Zeus. He's obviously a Greek god as well. And he is in Greek mythology. He was the king of the gods as well, and king of Olympia, I think it is, if I remember right. I used to love mythology, but I haven't been into it as much since. So yeah, so that's Zeus. So he's a villain, if you want to describe him that way. Really funny character, though. He was hilarious, the way he interacted. That's a problem a lot of people had with the movie, is that they thought it was too much humor. I didn't personally feel that way. I did think it was a little overbearing at times, but I'll get to that later in my movie review. Right now, we're just focused on the pops. So, let's get into a character that was wasted, but was so amazing when he was on screen. Gore. It was so heartbreaking to see the way that Christian Bale was underutilized, man. I'm still crying over it. So, Gore's story. He was worshiping a god, and his daughter died because the god neglected them. Oh, that pop is cool. The god neglected him and his daughter, even though he was a servant of this god. So he finds this god's oasis in the middle of the desert. And he's basically like, hey, I've served you, like, our people are starving, like, what the heck, man? And this god's like, I don't care about you. I don't care about what you do, you know, your life is meaningless, you know. So basically he gets pissed, knowing that his daughter died for nothing. And then the Necro Sword calls to him. And so he kills the god, and the Necro Sword is like, basically corrupts him, and he's like, so this funny, it doesn't feel like a curse, more like a promise. So this is my vow. All gods will die. And then we didn't see him do it, but he apparently killed a lot of other gods. That's a problem I had with Gore used to, is we didn't really see him butchering gods all that much, even though he's Gore the God Butcher. But then, basically, when it gets around to killing Thor, he kidnaps the children of Asgard and takes them to his shadow realm, I think is what it was called, where everything is black and white. And then he also wants to get to a being called Eternity. So Eternity can grant the user any wish. And he wants to use Eternity to kill all the gods at once to accomplish his final goal. But in the end, he ends up not doing that. He ends up bringing his daughter back, and then Thor adopts Gorr's daughter. I'm not gonna lie, this villain was very much the Phase 4 cliche villain of the object corrupts them, and then they do something at the end to redeem themselves. It's really sad to say, but he was that villain, and he was wasted. I'm sorry. No, not wasted. Underutilized. Especially with Christian frickin' Bale being the actor. I'm still sad over the way that Gorr was used in this movie. It's so heartbreaking, man. But yeah, so that's the story of the villain, Gorr the God Butcher. Super underutilized, but amazing. Every scene he was in, he stole the show. Like when he had all three of them tied up and was talking to them, that was one of the craziest scenes, man. Oh, he was such a good villain, but could have been used better, man. It's sad. Anyway, I'll get to that in my review, though. But next up, we have Kulg. My name is Kulg, made of rooks. So his story kind of picks up from Ragnarok, or from Endgame, or he's going with Thor on adventures now. He doesn't really play that big of a part in the movie other than kind of being Thor's sidekick. The funny part is that he, during the battle with Zeus's goons, he gets fake killed, but he ends up just being his face, and his face, his rock face, gets carried around on Valkyrie's back. So that was pretty funny. And then he does get a boyfriend at the end of the movie, which is an obvious reference to Dwayne The Rock Johnson, because his name is Dwayne, and he's literally made out of rocks. But, yeah, Korg was kind of just, he didn't play as big of a role as he did in Ragnarok, that's for sure. But he was just kind of the sidekick, and that's okay. I feel like we'll get more of him in the future. But yeah, so we see his outfit. He has the little horns, the ram belt buckle thing. He has the little crossing chest piece with his little stick baton thing. But yeah, so that's Korg. My name is Kulg. I'm made of rocks. Yeah, really funny. Really, really good character. Obviously, Taika Waititi plays him well. He didn't really play that big of a role in the movie, though. But that's okay. Okay, next up, we have the new King of Asgard, Valkyrie. So, she also didn't play as big of a role. She played a bigger role than Korg did. But she is the queen or the king of New Asgard. I don't know. I don't want to get political or anything, but I'll just say she's the queen. So she is the queen of New Asgard, and she is running it. So after Endgame, Thor leaves, and it's being run pretty well. But then obviously, the children of Asgard get kidnapped. So now we got to go save him. And obviously, her being in charge of Asgard, she's got to help in that too. So she goes with Thor and Jane, Mighty Thor, to help save these kiddos. She ends up getting stabbed by Gorr later on. Ends up being another fake death, which I'll talk about. But yeah, so she goes and helps them. She helps fight Zeus's goons as well. But yeah, she has her cool new blue costume, the blue streaks in her hair. And she also kind of pumps up Mighty Thor for the battle, because Mighty Thor's nervous about the adventure they're about to go on. And then she brings the funny Bluetooth speaker moment where she's like, "Is that a bomb?" And Valkyrie's like, "It's a Bluetooth speaker." Lol. So yeah, so that's Valkyrie. Again, she didn't play as big of a role as she did in Ragnarok, but that's all right. That's okay. It wasn't. Yeah, I don't know. I don't think it's that big of a deal. That her and Korg were kind of just sidekicks in the main mission to get the children back, the Asgardian children back, and stop Gorr, sorry. Their names rhyme. That's why I said that. But now we will go to unboxing the Thor Pops. So first off, we have Mighty Thor. So obviously, Mighty Thor is Jane Foster, right? So her story is that So her story after, Thor the Dark World was the last time we saw her, was that she fell in love with Thor, and they started a relationship, but as they kept living together and whatever, their lives kind of became busier and busier until Thor left. I think it was Thor. And she kind of just continued life on her own as a researcher and whatever. But then she eventually found out she got cancer. So after she gets cancer, she is reading about Mjolnir and reads that, Mjolnir has the ability to heal. But that quickly backfires as well. So she becomes Thor, right? She becomes the mighty Thor. She's able to wield Mjolnir with all its broken pieces. Sadly, we didn't see that on screen, which is kind of a missed opportunity, in my opinion. But, so, she wields Mjolnir, becomes mighty Thor, and then she shows up to help Thor fight Gore and help rescue the Asgardian children as the mighty Thor. But as she uses Mjolnir, that stops her body from fighting the cancer. So the more she uses it, the more the cancer overtakes her body, until at the very end, she has spoilers. If you're this far into the video, you shouldn't need a spoiler warning. But she eventually dies. So she dies in Thor's arms. But throughout the movie, it's basically about it's basically about her and Thor mending their relationship. So her and Thor fall in love again. Thor realizes he missed out, that he was kind of a ding-dong, a little bit of a dinker-jandis. Sorry, that's just an inside joke with one of my wrestling buddies from high school. But, yeah, so they reconcile, and that's kind of what this movie's about, is it's about Thor and Jane's reconciliation and falling in love again. When you kind of make that the main focus of the film, that's when you realize that that's what the central theme was. That's why I say that Gore is kind of a subplot, which is really sad. I'll get to that in a little bit. But, yeah, so she becomes the mighty Thor, though, but she eventually dies, and in one of the post-credits scene, Heimdall welcomes her to Valhalla, which is like the heaven of Norse mythology. So, yeah, Heimdall's like, welcome to Valhalla, because she died a warrior's death. But she does say a few cringy things in the movie, and there are a little bit of, I don't want to say continuity, but it sometimes doesn't feel like the character we saw in the original two Thor movies. Not really, but there's a few points in the movie when I was like, this kind of feels like a different character, but it's not that big of a deal. But now, to the big one, is the glow-in-the-dark mighty Thor. So I obviously love to show off glow-in-the-dark pops, so I'm going to do that. One thing I will say that Funko impressed me with is that they made an unmasked version of mighty Thor and a masked version. In fact, they made two. When you talk about like Baron Zemo and Falcon and the Winter Soldier or other certain characters, they don't make it masked or unmasked. It's just like one variation, like one thing, and that's all you've got. But luckily, we have a masked and unmasked version of the mighty Thor. So, yeah, her costume was also really cool, by the way. I know that some of the CGI in this movie was a little meh. Obviously, we know now because Marvel VFX artists are overworked and underpaid, which is a problem, by the way. One thing that really did piss me off is if you've seen the video of Taika Waititi making fun of Korg CGI, and knowing now what we know about the VFX artists for Marvel and how they're not treated that well, that kind of pissed me off a little bit. But, yeah, so this is her full-on costume with the winged helmet. She's got the helmet, obviously Mjolnir with the broken pieces, like with the lightning. Just the very similar-looking Thor outfit. But let's see what this pop looks like glow in the dark. Let me go turn off my lights really quick, and then we will see what that looks like. Okay, I'm back. So let's see what Mighty Thor looks like with all her lightning glowing. This is a very similar pop to the Captain America Endgame pop, except that one didn't glow, sadly. I wish it did. Oh, man, that would have been so cool. Anywho. So, yeah, that's what she looks like. So, obviously, none of her body is glow in the dark. It's mainly just the base of power, like the lightning, and then Mjolnir, and the lightning surrounding Mjolnir. But, yeah, so she's obviously has the same abilities as Thor to wield Mjolnir and to, use lightning and all of that. And she makes the sacrificial decision to come help him fight Gore and stop Gore from using Stormbreaker to get to eternity, which ends up happening anyway. Lol. Rip. So, yeah. Oh, there you go. That's the best glow you're probably going to get of that. Yeah, right there. There you go. That's pretty sweet. So, yeah. So, that's the glow-in-the-dark Mighty Thor. Really cool pop. Really awesome. But, now let me go turn my lights back on and let's unbox this last pop and then review the movie. Okay. So, yeah, that's glow-in-the-dark Thor, Mighty Thor. So, now let's unbox the last pop, which obviously is Thor, the main character. So, Thor's story in Love and Thunder picks up after Endgame. But basically, now that he has no path, he also realizes that he doesn't really have any loved ones because they're all gone. And so, this movie is kind of about him filling that empty void and kind of finding someone to love or something to love again. But yeah, so he starts off with the Guardians, but then splits off and finds out from Lady Sif about the God Butcher that's been killing gods, obviously Gore. And then Gore comes for Asgard, knowing that Thor is a god and whatever. And he captures a lot of Asgardian children. So, good night. Yeah, so he captures Asgardian children and holds them captive so he can lure Thor in to kill him. And he also needs Stormbreaker too, because Stormbreaker is the key to eternity. So, yeah, so really quick, that's his new costume. I really dig the costume. The blue was awesome. Obviously, he's wielding Stormbreaker with the little electricity. And there's this funny thing with Mjolnir going on where, Mjolnir is, this, jealous, ex-girlfriend or something and, is clinging to the Mighty Thor and he tries to get it constantly. It's really funny. But, yeah, so they end up going to the Shadow Realm, get captured, fight Gore, get away, but Gore manages to snatch Stormbreaker, so now they gotta go back and stop Gore from getting to eternity. They don't, but they convince Thor and crew, convince Gore to resurrect his daughter instead of killing all the gods, and he does that. And then Thor adopts this daughter and calls her Thunder. Her name is Thunder. So Love and Thunder. At the end of the movie, it's they became known as Love and Thunder. So yeah. So they make up. Lol, just kidding. So they make up. They fall in love again. And then, I was about to say Natalie. Sorry, Jane, because it's Natalie Portman. Jane dies in Thor's arms, but he adopts Gore's daughter, and that's his daughter in real life, too. I'm pretty sure most of y'all knew that by now. But, yeah, he adopts Gore's daughter and becomes a father. So that's how the movie ends. And then, of course, the post-credit scenes where we're going to see Thor fight Hercules. Heck yeah, dude. I'm so excited. I'll talk about that in my movie review. But, yeah, so those are the pops for Love and Thunder. So, let's see if I can get them all in one. Yeah, kind of. Half of Mighty Thor's missing. Whatever. It's fine. Anyway, let's get on to my movie review. So, my initial review, my first impression review or ranking was an 8 out of 8. I've since lowered it to an 8. So, first off, let's get what I didn't like out of the way so I can talk about what I did like. So, my biggest problem with this film, with Love and Thunder, was the way Gore was used, man. He got very little dialogue and very little screen time. This is Christian Bale. Okay? This is Christian freaking Bale that you have acting for you, and you just don't use him? Like, Christian Bale says that, like, a ton of content got cut out of the film. And did you also, I don't know if a lot of people noticed, but did y'all notice that, like, Marvel Studios didn't really interview Christian Bale or post a lot about him? Like, he just never once was in an interview or, like, the fun trivia things they do, Marvel Studio does before the release of a film. Like, he wasn't really involved in that. And I honestly think it's because Marvel knew that he wasn't involved in the film a lot. And it was really sad to see him acting his butt off. And then just, like, I don't know, just... It was kind of hard with the humorous, more comedy style to fit him in. They still could have made it work, though. And for when he was on screen, he was a menace, man. He had one of the best on-screen presences in the entire MCU. Except he only got like 20 minutes of screen time and very little dialogue. So yeah, the way Gore was treated, especially with Christian Bale being your actor, unforgivable. Unforgivable, man. It's such a tragedy. But another problem, this isn't really a problem. The humor was a little overbearing at times. I'll get into what I talk about, what I liked, and what my view compared to what the general media thinks. And so the general MCU fan base doesn't really like this movie. And I think the humor was a little overbearing at times and out of place. And it was kind of cringy at times, like, eat my hammer. Like, did you really need to say that? Like, was that really necessary? Like, really? Come on. But, anyway, yeah, so, the humor was a little overbearing at times, but besides that, those two things, I didn't really have any more problems. Maybe Korg and Valkyrie could have played a little bigger role in the film. And maybe Jane, I don't know, they could have had a little more callbacks to Jane's original Thor and Thor the Dark World days. But other than that, it's fine. So now, what I like about the movie and how my view lines up with that of the general population. So, I really liked the return to fun, right? I think the general MCU thinks that the general MCU fan base and just population that saw this movie thinks it had too much humor. I don't really think it had too much humor. It had a little too much at times, like I said, but I never felt like it was enough to take away from the movie. And I never felt like it was so overbearing or bad that it took away from the overall experience. Plus, after all these depressing and political infused projects, it was just kind of fun for the MCU to come back to something fun, to come back to a comedy movie with everyone acting goofy, everyone having a good time. It was fun to laugh in the theater again a lot. I had a ton of fun with this film. Zeus was hilarious, Korg was funny as always, Chris Hemsworth's Thor was great, all the Guardians were funny. It was pretty funny. It was pretty good. It was pretty funny, and I think it was great to return to that. Now, a lot of people say that Thor's character retracted, but I don't think so, man. This is one thing I like, is that in real life, when people are empty, when they don't have anyone they love, stuff like that Thor was going with, what is something people often do in real life? They'll make jokes. They'll throw up humor. Humor is like a wall between you and hurt, right? Between you and emptiness. It kind of puts on this thing of, I'm happy, I'm not really empty. So if Thor's feeling this way, humor to me would make perfect sense. It would make perfect sense why he would joke around, why he would be funny, why he would do all these things, because if he's feeling empty and but he doesn't want people to know, then he's going to make tons of jokes, and he's going to be funny to hide that. But that scene when these two reconcile on the boat, and that little, in the portal thing, that scene to me was pretty serious and showed that, wow, like, he's not being funny anymore. He's being serious because this is what he wants now, right? So I don't know. To me, it made sense that Thor was funny, that he made tons of jokes. It doesn't seem like that far off from what someone would do in real life either, if we want to draw similarities to, real life and being human. But, yeah, I also really liked Jane Foster in this. She was awesome as the mighty Thor. Natalie Portman acts very well. She's a very good actress. So she played her well, of course. The fighting, the action was all pretty good. The CGI was meh, but we obviously know why, But, oh man, there was one more thing I swear I was going to say that I liked. Oh yeah, the scene where he gives the power to the kids. Now, I know that people are like, well, why didn't he do this in Endgame? Or like, why didn't he do this before? My theory is that it's connected to Thor, Zeus's bolt, because that's what he was holding. So maybe that unlocked it somehow. That is kind of a weird thing that he wouldn't have done that earlier, but I don't think it's that big of a deal. But man, when he gives the kids all the power of Thor, and they're all charging in and whooping Shadow monster butt, that scene was so cool to me. I don't know. I just think it's awesome that Thor gave these little kids powers, and now they're like, oh yeah, all fighting with Thor. Just like little kids being superheroes. Like, who doesn't want that? Like, what 6-year-old doesn't want to be Spider-Man? What 6-year-old doesn't want to be Captain America or Thor or Iron Man? And, like, seeing that come out on screen, to me, was awesome. Also, the post-credit scenes, especially the Hercules one. Knowing how long people have wanted Hercules in the MCU and Greek gods in general, I'm so excited to see them fight. It is an interesting casting choice with Brett Goldstein. I wasn't really expecting that, to be honest. But, dude, I'm so excited. I'm so excited to see Hercules and Thor fight. I cannot wait for the future. And, Hercules' costume, fantastic. So, yeah, I don't really have much to say about this film. It was just a fun film. It did have some conflicting themes with, like, gore and, like, trying to be dark, but also trying to be funny. But overall, I give this movie an 8 out of 10. Right? It's the same ranking I give Eternals. It was a good movie, and I think it's overhated quite a bit. I don't think it deserves the amount of hate it gets. I certainly see why people don't like this movie. So it's not like I'm a blind fanboy, like I've said before, to where I don't see why people hate this movie, and I'm like, why do people hate this? Kind of like Eternals, like I am with Eternals. I'm not like that. I get the problems people had with this movie, and I totally see what issues they had. But I just don't think it was as bad as people say it is, right? I think it's a fun addition to the MCU. It's a great continuation of Thor's story, and I can't wait to see where the story goes. Hopefully, they do learn from the way they use gore, and they can use villains better in the future. This has kind of been a Phase 4 problem, but besides that, and a little couple more things here and there, not a bad movie at all. Really, really good movie, actually. So, yeah, 8 out of 10 for Love and Thunder. Another MCU Phase 4 film in the books. Can't wait for Wakanda Forever. I will be doing my Miss Marvel unboxing, and then I will be anticipating She-Hulk. I don't really have that high of expectations for She-Hulk, if I'm being completely honest, but we'll see how it goes, So, yeah, I hope every one of y'all enjoyed the review, and I hope if you guys liked Thor Love and Thunder, that's awesome. If you didn't, though, I see the problems you had, and I get why people don't like this film. But, yeah, I hope y'all have a good day, and peace out.